Okay, so we're going to discuss Hall effect measurements here in the lab. The first part of the system is the sample holder. This is where you mount your sample, and you have 4 probes, 2 current probes and 2 voltage probes. And this is connected up to this selector box. This selector box allows us to select which probe is either sending current in or out of the sample, or reading a voltage across the 2 pins. So we have probe 1, 2, 3, and 4, and these knobs we can use to select the activity of that probe. This is our digital multimeter where we read our voltage. This is the current source, the ammeter to verify the current. This is a power supply for the electromagnet that we use to do the Hall measurement. And down here at the bottom is our electromagnet that we will use. The sample from the holder sits right between these 2 poles, and when you turn the power supply on, you induce the magnetic field in order to do the measurement. Okay, so this is a zoom in of the holder. We have the base here where the sample goes. This is a piece of silicon that's taped down with Kapton tape. This is where your sample will go. These are the individual probes, and we lift them up, we put them on top of the sample, and then we tighten the screw to hold the probe in place. So we've got 4 probes, and we have corresponding screws to each probe. Okay? As you see, they can slide in and out and turn around, so your samples of different sizes and shapes can be used, and contact can be made. Okay, so I've put my silicon sample on here, and you can see it's got the indium on the 4 corners, and I went ahead and already attached this probe. I slid it over, put it on top, and tightened this screw. I will now attach this probe. When you're putting your samples down, you want to start with the probe that has the least amount of movement, and this probe here, this distance on the sample holder, on the probe tip, is very small, so it has a little bit of movement. So you want to put that one in place first. These, like on this side, have a lot of movement, so you can adjust for sample sizes with these large movement ones. So we're going to go ahead and attach this one. So I'm going to hold it in place, and I'm going to put the screwdriver in the screw, hold the contact in place, tighten the screw down, and just make sure that the contact's not going to move. That's all. It doesn't have to be very, very tight. You're not making a seal of any sort. We're just wanting to hold the metal probe down to the contact, nice and secure. So now that that one's in place, I'm going to go ahead and attach the other 2. Okay, so now you can see the other 2 probes are in position. They are on top of the contacts, and I've got them tight, so they're not going to move. So now that the sample's mounted, I'm going to go ahead and take it off the vise. Again, ensure that it's not going to fall out. This red wire here indicates the face of the sample, right? This little fine little red wire here. And this whole probe then gets inserted between these 2 poles in this case. You want to ensure that the red wire is in the same direction as the 2 poles. This way you have a north and a south field, or a south and north field, depending on the direction of flow of the current in the magnet. This container is covered in tape, so it's nice and opaque, which keeps the light off the sample.